right. So good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I need real energy. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, that's the first thing I want you guys to know. Your energy, it will either attract or it will repel.
Yep.
Write that down. My energy will either attract or it will repel. So when your energy is high, when you're really fired up about this message that you say you have to share with the world, that energy that you have, that excitement, that enthusiasm is contagious. And people will want to be in your space just because of that. But when your energy is low, it will repel potential customers. So always walk into every space, whether you're speaking one-on-one to a client, whether you're speaking one to a few, or one in front of a huge audience, always come in with this magnetic energy like you are about to tear that stage up or that platform up. Like they just don't even know what they're in for. Energy is everything. So I'm going to say good morning again. So I said good morning.
Good morning.
That's a little bit better. I know it's still early. I haven't had any coffee yet either. So look, I want to tell you guys just a little bit more about my story because I want you to understand that everything I'm going to teach you today is based on firsthand experience, not theory. Sometimes you get with people who coach, people who train, and they're telling you something that they heard somebody else say, or they're telling you something based on what they think. That's theory. I'm telling you what I know based on firsthand experience, as in my life has drastically shifted in the past 6 years because of everything that I'm going to share with you today. Is that good? That's good stuff. So in 2009, I wasn't Cheryl Wood International anything. I wasn't speaking, I wasn't coaching, I wasn't an author. I was a legal secretary by trade. I went to a cubicle every day. 10 by 10 cubicle, and I answered phones, and I shuffled papers. I know you're looking like, what? Because everything about my demeanor says I should be running my mouth and getting paid for it somewhere. But I didn't know that. And until you're willing to stretch yourself and do something different, do something unfamiliar, do something uncomfortable, you will always find yourself in the same space of doing just what you know. So I did that for 15 years. In 2009, decided to take a risk, which that risk simply was getting started. And some of you, you're here, and you have this powerful story and you have this powerful message, but you're not getting started because you're telling yourself all the reasons why not. I'm not really ready. Who's really going to listen to me? I'm a small fish in a big ocean. I don't have everything together. Or you're procrastinating. It's not perfect. And I'm telling you, you got to just get started with what you have already. So I just got started. So I started a small business. It was a t-shirt business. I didn't automatically get into speaking. I started a small t-shirt business in 2009. I connected it to what I was really passionate about, which was motherhood. I have 3 little ones, 8, 9, and 12. And in the time, you're talking 7 years ago now. So you're talking, what were they, like 1, 2, and 4. So really babies. I mean, I like had 3 car seats in my car. Imagine. And so for me, I started this little t-shirt business that was connected to something I was passionate about, which is really another golden nugget. As a speaker, author, coach, don't ever chase the money. Chase the passion, and you will magnetize the money. I promise you. I'm not teaching you based on theory. I'm teaching you based on what?
Fact, real life.
Yes, real life, firsthand experience. So I decided to chase something that I was passionate about because then I would never run out of steam for talking about it. I would never run out of steam for sharing my story. But if I chase money, it could be linked to something I'm not really passionate about, and eventually you lose steam. So I created this business called Moms Are the Best. It was a t-shirt business. I would go out to these events and I would vend, have a table, and I would just talk to women and I would try to sell t-shirts. Sometimes I was successful, sometimes I wasn't. Now I still worked my full-time job while I did that business. So you gotta really be ready for your grind. You have to really be ready to make sacrifices that other people think you crazy. Like you went to work from 8 to 5, you picked up the kids at 6, you came home, you cooked dinner, you helped them with homework, you did bath time, and now you're working on your business? From 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. and then you get up tomorrow and do the same thing. You got to be willing to do some stuff that other people think you crazy. Some sacrifices that make you think you crazy.
Right.
You got to really be in it. You can't be halfway in and halfway out. Oh, I think this is what I want to do. But then you get tired because of the sacrifices. You get tired because maybe you got to give up some sleep. Maybe you got to give up hanging out a little bit. Maybe you got to give up some things. You got to turn the TV off a little bit. So there are sacrifices that come with being in this grind. It is a grind. But it doesn't have to stay that way. I think Trevor talked a little bit about this earlier, how there's so many women, especially women entrepreneurs, which is why I focus my energy on developing women entrepreneurs and women speakers. So many women entrepreneurs stay in a space of 25 to 30 grand a year in their business. That's it. There are a small percentage who go to the 6-figure and even smaller who go to 7-figure. So everything I'm going to share with you is going to be based on my firsthand experience of going from that 25 or 30,000. I think I was making less than that, to literally going to the space of multiple 6 figures on a trajectory of 7 figures. So I started the business. It's called Mom to the Best. I would go to these events. I'm still working my full-time job. I was still complaining I didn't have enough time to spend with my husband and my kids. But I just kept doing it. I just kept staying in it. And you can't quit before your blessings show up. Right. And you got to understand that success is never free. It's never easy. It's never convenient. Those 3 things, it's never. You got to be willing to stay in it for the long haul. What I tell every client who comes to my space is this: don't ever put an expiration date on the manifestation of the dream. The only thing you put an expiration date on are the goals that get you closer to the dream, not the full manifestation of it, because you can't say when that's going to happen. You can't say when there's going to be a door of opportunity that opens for you, that detours you specifically in the direction you're supposed to be going in. So that's what happened to me. Doing the t-shirt business, selling t-shirts, still going to the full-time job, 18 months later into doing that, making the sacrifices, giving up some sleep, giving up some things, not hanging out, turning off the TV, putting my mind and my energy and my content into making sure I had something to offer people that was of value. 18 months later, then I get the call that shifts the trajectory of my life. And that was from somebody at Morgan State University. They heard about the t-shirt business. Why? Why'd they hear about the t-shirt business? Number 1, because I got started. Number 2, because even when I was doing t-shirts, I had an energy about doing the t-shirts. You didn't never come to my table and I was like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, this my line. No, I was fired up even when I was selling t-shirts. Right. Your energy is contagious. People will want to know you and be in your space just because of your energy. So every time you go in any room, any space where you're representing you, you got to have an energy that's magnetic. Magnetic. And that should be natural if you're aligned with what you believe you're supposed to be doing. If you're really in a space where you're in alignment with what you feel like, this is my God assignment, this is my gift, this is my passion, that energy should not be something you got to make up. It should just ooze out of you. Like every day I wake up now, I don't have to hit an alarm clock. I don't have to hit snooze like I did when I was in corporate. You know why? Because I love what I do. I love, when I came here this morning, I said, oh, yes. I get to pour into some ladies who are here and they want to be speakers. Oh, you talking to the right person. I was fired up on the way here, driving here. So do people get that from you? Do they get that sense of energy from you? So get a phone call from somebody at Morgan State University. They heard about the t-shirt business. They said, look, we have a conference every year for women. And we heard about your business. We'd love for you to come to the conference and speak and teach other moms how to start their own businesses. I said, stop playing with me. You done dialed the wrong number. Stop playing, because I wasn't a speaker. I didn't have any experience. I had never been a Toastmasters. I didn't have any training. Sometimes you feel unqualified, but you're called. And I know that all of you, somebody say that again. Sometimes you feel unqualified, but you have been called to do that thing. And it's my belief that because you're sitting in this room, that you know you've been called to do what you've been here to learn about and to master. And you have to be willing to master your skill. It's not just, oh, I've been called now, it's going to work out. It's going to all fall into my lap. It's about mastery. It's about developing your ability and your skill sets. It's about aligning yourself with a community of people who value what you have in the marketplace. All of those things are a part of it. It's about the automation. It's about working smarter, not harder, and that's why you're here. So you're going to get a whole lot of stuff this weekend. But one of the biggest things that you got to understand, if you believe you've been called to do this, don't you ever give up on it. Don't you ever stop. Don't you ever quit. Don't you ever say it's not happening fast enough. You just keep doing it. Because if you believe in something, when you're holding on to something and you're fighting for it like you're fighting for your life, do you give up? No, because you're always looking for that thing that's about to come around the corner and bless you.
Right. All the time.
So you gotta be in it. Not halfway, not 1 foot in, not I'm straddling the fence. No, you gotta be in it. I'm gonna do this thing until I manifest what I want. And so I went to that conference. Now here's another nugget. I'm gonna drop some nuggets on you guys before I even get into the real content. Here's another nugget. You've gotta show up the way you wanna be viewed. So I tell my clients, don't ever come into the room as the rookie. You come into the room as the confident competitor. Woo, that's a difference. You don't walk in a space as, oh, I'm a rookie, because a rookie generally will walk in as though they don't belong. A rookie walks in kind of with their shoulders kind of slumped over and their head a little bit down, and they feel like I'm not really adequate to be here. No, you are adequate, because remember we say you've been called. So you walk in as a confident competitor, meaning you understand that there are people who have been doing it longer than you. You understand that there are people who are way beyond you, but you also understand that you are now in the game. That this is your fight, and it can be whatever you want it to be, whatever you decide to make it. And that there are people who, just like there are people who know more than you, there are people who know less than you, and who need what you bring into the marketplace. That's a different approach. That's a whole different approach when you walk in the room as a confident competitor. So I walked into that space as a confident competitor. I said, hello, hi, I'm Cheryl. I went to the speaker desk, you sign in. I'm Cheryl Wood, international speaker. I was calling myself international speaker. I hadn't left Baltimore yet. Why? Because I was projecting where I was going.
Right.
You gotta know, you gotta be able to see the reaching. That's what Zig Ziglar says. You have to be able to see the reaching in your own mind before it ever manifests, before it ever happens. So I want you all to close your eyes for a second. And I want you to visualize, what is it that you see for yourself? Where are you going to be in the next 12 months? The next 24 months? What does your business look like? Who are you speaking to? Whose life are you pouring into? Are you in an intimate space like we are today, where it's you as a trainer, training people, pouring into them, instructing, helping them to master their skill and their craft? Or are you on stage in front of 5,000 people and you're pouring into them this message and sharing your story? What does it look like for you? What's your title? How are they introducing you when you come on stage? See, when I come on stage, it's Cheryl Wood, the international keynote speaker, the women's empowerment champion, who is global. She's just came back from India. Next week, she's gonna be in London, UK. Next month, she's gonna be in Africa. You gotta be able to really see that. Like, I can see it. I could see it before it ever got to the space where it's happening now. Because when you can see it, then you can start to say, these are the things I need to do to get it. These are the action steps I gotta take to get there. So went to Morgan, showed up the way I wanted to be viewed, projected myself as a confident competitor, not a rookie who was coming into the space, and I tore that stage up. I tore it up based on what I knew then. Do you understand? So whatever you know right now, there's value in it. Don't ever diminish the value of the knowledge you have right now. Because sometimes we're like, well, I don't know as much as. Well, there's Lisa Nichols, and then there's Les Brown, and then there's Tony Robbins, and there's all these people. There's really no space for me. Yes, there is. Because everybody can't get to Lisa and Tony and Les yet. Everybody's budget don't let them get to Lisa and Tony and Les yet. So they might need you right now. Or maybe there's going to be something unique about your story that just yells out to them that you are the answer to their problem. You're the solution to their pain. So for me, I work with a lot of women who were just like I was, who are in a space where they're working a full-time job. They're not thrilled about the full-time job. They want more time freedom. They want financial freedom. And they're like, how do I get out of this thing? I know how to do it because I've done it. There are other women who connect with me based on the mommy thing. Oh my God, she's a mom like me. She's trying to balance work, and she's trying to balance a business, and she's trying to balance husband, and she's trying to balance kids, and she gets me. So there are going to be people who hear your voice based on your story. Write this down. And I think this might be on the sheet. My story is my wealth generator. My story is my wealth generator. What does that mean? That means your story has the power of positioning you where you not only create impact in people's lives, where you not only create a level of influence for yourself, but you get some income to go with that, some profitability. And that's what we're talking about. How do you use this to serve, but also how do you use this to be able to profit, to monetize it? Because I think all of us know how to serve. Do you feel like you know how to serve? Do you know how to serve well? Do you know how to serve well? We know how to serve. We're used to it as women. We serve as wives, we serve as mothers, we serve as daughters and sisters and aunties and caretakers. We know how to serve. We got that thing wrapped up. We don't need to be taught how to serve, but we do need to be taught how to monetize. And I'll tell you something that one of my sales coaches taught me. She said, Cheryl, selling is nothing more than a higher level of service. That's it. It's just giving you an opportunity to serve somebody at a higher level. And think about it this way. This is how I think about it every time I work with a client. Transformation requires time. You can't transform anybody's life without a time investment. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, we do.
So even when you get on a stage or you get in front of a group, you can get them excited about the possibilities, but if you're really going to help them transform from where they are to where they want to be, that requires time, a time investment. And so you owe it to yourself and you owe it to the client to offer your services so that they can experience the transformation that you're promising them from the stage. So we get up on a stage, and I know me, I'm very animated as a speaker, and I'm hooping and I'm hollering, and I'm yes, and tell me, come in, give me some feedback. Tell me it's time, your time to win. They're repeating and yelling and shouting, and we having a good time. But the question is, what you gonna do about it after? So I got you excited. I know how to do that. But I need you to understand that there are action steps you got to take after that. That's transformation. That requires time, a time investment. So when you don't offer the sale, you rob people of the transformation you just promised them from stage. Woo. When you don't offer the sale, you rob people of the transformation you promised them they could experience. So if I get on a stage and I tell a group of them, and into full-time entrepreneurship, but that you don't have to be a brokepreneur, that you can actually monetize it and you can generate 6 figures or you can generate 7 figures. If I tell you that from a stage, but then I give you no way to connect with me to make it happen, how selfish. Maya Angelou says, when you learn, teach, and when you get, give. So you give, in a sense, by extending the opportunity for people to learn from you at a greater level so they can experience transformation. So here's what I want to give you today, because I'm on a short time. I got clients to serve in addition to you ladies, but I'm super excited to be here. So I want to go through this sheet that I've given you, and I want to give you some things that are going to help you to turn the story not just into service, but into monetization. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is understanding why you're speaking. Why am I speaking? And when I say why you speak, I mean in addition to serving. Why would you accept a speaking engagement? What do you ladies think? Why would you accept a speaking engagement?
I have a message to deliver.
I have a message to deliver.
It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity for
Working your gift.
working your gift, okay?
To spread my message.
To spread my message.
Transform. So it's 2 of them together. Really.
Yes. So you understand, though, that all 3 of those connect to service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the other side of it. So number 1, you accept a speaking engagement in addition to service based on a fee. Okay? So you say yes because somebody calls you and says, I saw you on YouTube, I saw your Facebook Live, or I heard about you, or somebody told me something about you, great about your message, and they say, and we want to pay you to come and share your message. So number 1, why you were speaking, because somebody's calling and telling you they're going to write you a check. Can we say amen to a check?
Amen.
That's a beautiful thing. The second reason would be sales. So maybe the organization calls, or the company or the group, and they say, look, we love what you do. You've told us your fee, which means you have to have a fee structure. But we can't pay you your full fee. So this could go 2 ways. Number 1, it could be what we call an honorarium. Does everybody know what an honorarium is?
Yes. Kind of like a gifting.
Yes. So an honorarium is something in lieu of your full speaker's fee. So it might be half, it might be a fourth of it, whatever, but it's not your full fee. That's all it means. Or maybe there's some other, I'll tell you something else. There's something called monetary concessions, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So there's an honorarium, or it could be a combination of, so really I should say 3. Okay, so sales-based would be, okay, look, we can give you an honorarium in place of this, where you connect that to sales, or they may say, we don't even have an honorarium, we don't have any money in our budget, but you can come and sell. This sales-based means you gotta have something to sell. And that's what you're really gonna get schooled on, if I can say that word, schooled on here with Trevor and Shay, is creating content and packages and programs that you can sell, so that if somebody offers you a speak to sell opportunity, that's what it's called, speak to sell opportunity, you are ready. You ain't trying to get ready. Remember what I said this morning? You got to be ready. So you ain't trying to get ready. You don't have time to get ready. Because if I told you tomorrow, hey, you know what? I love that you ladies are here. You're pouring into yourselves. You're getting knowledge. Look, I got a gig tomorrow. Would you all come and speak? The question is, are you ready? Are you ready with a message? Are you ready with a program if I say you can sell to my audience?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to get ready? Okay, so you got to know this. And then are your sales at a level where it's going to make sense for you to go to the stage and sell? Meaning, sometimes we get stuck in, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with starting here, but sometimes, like for me, I got stuck in a $97 world. I heard somebody laughing. So that means somebody else is experiencing what I'm saying, what I've been through. I got stuck in a $97 world. Everything I offered was $97. I'm not getting to $1 million real quick with 97. And maybe 5 people in the room or 6 people in the room sell it, buy it, right? So let me tell you what changed that. So I went to this event. I spoke at the event. How much y'all think my package was? $97, because I was stuck in a $97 world. $97. I got up on the stage. I gave all my energy. I was sweating. You know, how we do as speakers. Gave it all to them. Had my $97 package. Had people running up to give me their $97 package. It's like, yes, this is a win. I was all proud of my little self. So the speaker behind me, the next speaker comes up. And his program, he did the same thing I did. Content, great speaker. But his program wasn't 97. His program was like $5,997.
Okay.
Guess what happened? People came up and people paid for his package. So who felt crazy? Me. Why? Because number one, I kept myself in this world because I wasn't assured that I had what they needed. Meaning, I still questioned if I was enough. So I want you, when you leave here, to understand you are enough. That whatever you have, somebody needs it, and you don't have to get stuck in this space. That people will pay if you have a real solution. You'll hear Shay say that all day long. People will pay today for the solution that you offer them today. So what is that solution that will get you out of this space? When I finally exited the $97 world, honey, I did a hallelujah, a glory, a happy dance, and some more, and some cartwheels. Because that's a space a lot of women get stuck in, which keeps you at that $25,000 to $35,000 range that we're talking about. That revenue that most women are generating. Okay, so we got fee-based, we got sales-based. The next thing is list building. Okay? Now, all of you have a CRM? Yes, CRM is your client relationship management tool, for those of you who are watching online as well. You gotta have a CRM because, let me explain this. A lot of people get confused and feel like Facebook and social media is their CRM. That's not your CRM. You have to have a place where you house the names, the contact information of the people who want to hear from you. I like to tell my clients this, and this is just for me personally. Facebook and social media, that's where my raving fans are. But my paying customers are in my list. That's where my money comes from my list, not from Facebook. Those people are cheering and they're hitting like or they're hitting love, but a cheering fan is very different from a paying customer.
Yeah.
Say that again.
He said, say it again. Okay, a cheering fan is very different from a paying customer. My mortgage company has yet to accept an IOU from me. And I go in there and tell them, but people really like me. But I got 4,000 likes on Facebook. They don't care? No, I need some paying customers. And for me, that directly stems from my list. So that means you got to consistently be building this. So what does that look like in terms of speaking? So maybe they say, well, we don't have a check. We can't write you a check. We don't have a budget. We don't want you to sell, but you can come and list build. And somebody's fake eyebrows just scrunched up like, what? Yes, there are opportunities where you don't get paid and you don't sell, but you can list build. Why is this equally as important?
Because you can sell later.
Yes. You will hear Trevor say over and over and over and over again that the power is in the list. That your monetization is in the list. It is not in just a one and done, as in, oh, you heard me speak, you got my book, and now you're gone. I didn't collect your information so I can sell to you later. So list building is critical because the percentages are so small. Number one, the percentage of the people who open it is small. Number two, the percentage of people who actually take action on it is even smaller. Now, unless you've grown to the level of someone like a Tony Robbins, with millions and millions and millions of people in his database, you're growing to that. So you, regardless of where you are right now, you can grow it. When I started out back in 2009, guess how many people were on my list? 2, my mama and my sister. And I had to grow that list. And now I've been able to grow that list to upwards of 10,000 people and continuing to grow it. So you got to be in it. And a part of this is collaborating with people. A part of it is making sure that when you go out to speak, even if you're not monetizing it yet in the early or from the front, you can monetize it later by connecting with people, educating and informing them, and making a sale offer later. But this list allows you to send out information where people start to develop the KLT factor with you. Know, like, and trust. So the more they hear from you, the more they're like, okay, I'm starting to believe that she really is the expert because she's sending this great content, she's sending this great information. It is your job as a speaker who's going global, international, to educate and inform your audience. Because if you're not educating and informing, who says you're an expert? What do experts do? They give expert advice. They educate, they inform. You want people coming to you asking you questions because they see you as an expert. So people send me Facebook messages, people send me inboxes, people send me emails, and they're asking me questions, and instead of me getting irritated by it, I'm like, okay, that's great. That means I have positioned myself as an expert. They want to know the answers that I have because of how I positioned myself in the marketplace. So list building is critical. And then last but not least is relationship building. Now, this is number 4 for a reason. This is not something you're going to be doing all the time, talking about, oh yeah, I'm just going to build a relationship and not get a check. But this can lead to greater. So if Les Brown called any of you today and said, I want you to come to my stage, I don't have a check, you can't sell, you can't list build, would you still go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you go?
Because I'm going to take pictures with him. Some kind of way it's going to be visible.
Yes. And we'll talk about that in a moment, the visibility aspect. Relationship building is huge. This right here, depending on who it's with, can enhance your KLT factor, your know, like, and trust factor. People see you, and there's a perception that's created that, wow, this woman is doing it big. She's everywhere. She's with all the gurus. Who is she and what does she know? And now there's an interest. Why do you think people, when they go to conferences and events, they're always running to get a picture with the person who's the headliner? Because it adds to the KLT factor, it adds to credibility. So even this, depending on, now you got to make sure this makes sense for you. You don't want to be flying all over the world just for anybody because they say, oh, I want to have a relationship with you. No, that's not what we're saying. But we're saying with the right people, if you align yourself and you're intentional, this can add so much value. I do this with some of my guru friends. And they say, look, hey, Cheryl, jump on this call or jump on this webinar. Or Trevor and Shay, they'll say, come, train. Guess what? I'm going to do that because they're aligned with who I am and where I'm going. And I know the connections they have. So when I'm in their space, that automatically puts me in the connections, in the space of the connections I want. So these are the reasons why you would speak. Outside of service, we know you want to serve, but these are the reasons why. Are there any questions about any of these? Okay, good. So we're going to move on. Let's see, do I have an eraser? I don't have an eraser.
We will get you one.
Okay, so then I want to move on to the 5 steps of speaker success. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 1 is visibility. Okay, visibility. Write this down. Visibility will always trump ability. Visibility will always trump ability. Thank you. Okay? So, if you're saying that you're a speaker, what do you have to be doing? Speaking. You can't tell me you're a speaker and you ain't speaking nowhere because I don't believe you. So you can't just put the title speaker behind your name and then you stay behind your laptop and nobody don't know you. Nobody's heard of you. Nobody knows what your message is. Nobody knows what your story is. You got to have visibility. Visibility will always trump ability. Why? Because visibility, as I like to say, gets your foot in the door. Ability keeps your foot there. So visibility gets you there. Ability keeps you there. Okay? So for visibility, what are you doing to create a buzz about who you are, about your story, about your message? How often are you doing it? Are you that person who pops on the scene every once in a while and posts a social media post? Or every 3 months you decide, okay, I'm going to send out a newsletter. Or every once in a blue, I'm going to send out a Facebook Live. Or do a Periscope. Like, you can't be the person who is, I'm here every once in a while. No, you got to be here consistently where people are used to seeing you. Used to hearing from you. I was just at a event 2 nights ago at the National Press Club. And one of the lady who actually hosted, she surprised me and kind of recognized me in front of everybody. And she said, this young lady is dynamic in her own right. She's powerful. She said, every day I go to her page so I can be uplifted. She said every day. She didn't say every week. She didn't say once in a blue moon. She didn't say every other month, bi-weekly. She didn't say none of that. She said every day. I know I can go to her page and get exactly what I need. Are you that consistent? Are you that consistent that literally your visibility has no choice but to try to catch up with you? Because you're always out there. You're always sharing your message. And let me say this. Even when you have one person who's listening, two people who's listening. So sometimes you'll get on a Facebook Live and it's just going to be you and one other person. Are you pouring into that person as though there are 100 people there? Because I'm telling you about where I started. I used to go to conferences that I would get hired. And when I say hired, when I first got hired, that hired wasn't a check. It was a ham sandwich and a thank you. Right? Like they serve you lunch when you come. And they tell you how amazing you are. Oh my God, you're such an amazing speaker. Oh, after a while, you get tired of hearing that. No, I need that, what you're saying about how great I am, I need that to be reflected in my bank account so I can pay the mortgage. I need to monetize this gift, not just because I know how to serve. So I know what it feels like to get to a space and you go and they tell you there's going to be 200 people there and you get, and it's like 20 people there. And 10 of them are vendors. What? Stop playing. I know what that feels like. But what I would do is I would go into that space and I would pour into those 20 people as though there were 200 people there. So there might be 200 empty seats, 180 empty seats. But I would pour from that stage because number one, I don't know who's in the audience. I don't know who can potentially become my paying customer. Number three, I don't know who they know.
Right.
So now suppose they hear me give this riveting speech that opens their eyes to possibility, and now they go and tell somebody else, and they go and tell somebody else, and they go and tell somebody else, right? Now, I don't know how that's gonna, and it always comes back. So the visibility is critical. And then after you have the visibility, you gotta have the ability to stay there. All right? So the visibility, get your foot in the door, the ability will keep you there. So visibility is, oh, people have been creating a buzz about you, they heard about you, you're sharing your message consistently, maybe you're sending out email newsletters, maybe you're posting Facebook Live, you're doing social media, maybe you're blogging, maybe you're actually getting out and speaking on stages already. But now it's the ability, and what the ability is are you prepared to show up in greatness when you get that opportunity? And the three critical things you gotta be able to display when you're on stage are number one, confidence, number two, competence, and number three, credibility. Confidence, competence, and credibility. Confidence says, look, I know what I'm talking about. Competence also says, I'm knowledgeable about this, I have experience. What did I tell you guys when I first came here? It's not based on theory, it's based on firsthand experience. And then credibility, meaning I've actually used this viable solution for other people who have gotten results. So I know it's gonna work for you. There's no question in my mind. So you gotta do your visibility, your ability, and here's another critical part, authenticity. Why is authenticity so important? Because if you try to show up as somebody else, you are going to have a massive failure at some point. You have got to find your voice. You have to find your strength. What is it that you uniquely bring into any space that you go to? Let me share this example of a speaking engagement I had. So this was maybe 3 years ago. And I got this call from a gentleman, which was kind of odd because I normally work with women and I get phone calls from women who want me to come in their conferences or their retreats. So that was kind of like the first thing, like, all right, it's a gentleman calling me. And he goes on to introduce himself and he says, Miss Wood, we want to hire you to come and host this 2-day conference that we have. It's for our organization. They've been in business for 25 years. And we also want you to host the event, to host the gala, and then to moderate an hour panel discussion. I said, okay, great, tell me more. So he's talking to me and he says, well, our company specializes in metrology. And I said, oh, just keep going, tell me more. Meanwhile, I'm on my laptop Googling what the heck is metrology, because I don't even know what metrology is. So I'm Googling this while he's telling me more. I'm trying to buy time so I can act like I'm informed, even though I'm not. And I find out that metrology is like the study of measurement. And they do stuff with aerospace. And I'm talking real smart people, y'all. Engineers, mathematicians, scientists, really smart people. So he says, after he gives me more explanation, he says, look, I don't need you to know anything about metrology. You know, it was a big old shoo that I said on my end. He said, we went to your website and we went to YouTube and we saw your videos and we just want you to bring what you do. We want your energy at the space. What I tell y'all at the beginning, your energy will magnetize or it will repel.
Yeah.
Right.
He said, we just want you to bring your energy. So I go to the, of course I accept the check, right? I go to the event, I show up. It is a male-dominated industry. As in, I was one of like 2 women in the room. And I'm gonna be the one who's on the stage running the show for 2 days. Hosting, emceeing, introducing people. And I was like, Lord, please let me say these words right. They give me this little script, and they got word nanotechnology, metrology, all of this stuff. I'm like, Lord, help me not to jack up these words. But I had to keep reminding myself, just be you. Authentically you. What is it that makes you you? What is it that makes you so unique that people love being in your space? They love who you are. And for me, it's not trying to be somebody I'm not. So I was like, I'm not getting up here and I'm not going to try to act like I know metrology, because I don't. Because then you're going to get up there and embarrass yourself. But I can get up here and I can be fired up about the fact that I get this opportunity to present. I can have enthusiasm as I'm introducing each person. Because you can imagine, if you're in a space with like 150 men, it get real dry real quick. Especially if they real smart people.
Yeah,
right? You be like, oh Lord, I'm about to fall asleep. And you hosting the thing. So I knew I was there for a reason, but I also knew I had to be just authentically me. So midway, we were halfway through the program. I've done my little roll in the morning, and they put me up in the hotel. So I'm going to my room. They're all eating lunch there. I'm not going to be in the room with 150 men. I'm going to go into my room and come back. So I'm going to my room. I'm walking down the hallway. And somebody says, Cheryl. I'm like, who knows me up in here? Like, nobody knows me here. And I turn around, and there's this tall, very well-dressed, handsome Caucasian man. And he comes over and he says, young lady, you are so comfortable in your own skin. That's what he said. He said, if I didn't know any better, I would think that you had known about metrology for the 25 years we've been in business. Why? Because I was just authentic. I just brought that special thing that I bring that nobody else can duplicate. They can try to imitate, they can't duplicate that thing. There's something unique about each and every one of you that nobody else can duplicate. But have you tapped into it? Do you know what it is? Or are you so busy looking at other speakers that you're trying to fit into a mold instead of just being you? So for me, it doesn't matter if I'm in a corporate space. It doesn't matter if I'm in an entrepreneurial space. You always just gonna get this Cheryl right here. Yeah, I'm kind of loud sometimes. Yes, I'm a little bit over the top a little time sometimes. Yes, you're gonna get a whole lot of energy. Yes, I'm gonna be sweating, because that's just authentically Cheryl. What is it that identifies the authentic you? When you bring that, it will magnetize the right people, the right clients, the right opportunities, because all money ain't good money.
Preach on that one.
Okay? So you want to be aligned with who you're really meant to serve, not just, oh God, I want a check. No, align with the people you're actually meant to serve. And so that was just one example of how authenticity will serve you so well. Let's go to these last 2. Number 4, credibility. So you want to grow your speaker stage, you got to have some credibility. I call them, and I actually stole this from Trevor a while ago, but now I usually don't even give him credit anymore.
Well, I get some credit to that.
But it's called, since this is his platform, I figure I give him credit. But they're called branches.
Okay.
Trevor, I say this in all my speeches now. I don't give you no credit no more, bro.
You
You get credit twice, and after that, this over. But it's called branches. And that was probably one of the most profound things I ever heard Trevor say to me was, who are your branches? Because you're the root, you're the tree. You're firmly rooted. You have the knowledge, the experience, the skill sets. People are coming to you for answers, coming to you for solutions. So the question is, who have you served so well that now you have branches extending from you? People who say, oh, I've been through her course. I've been through her program. I've had her teaching, her training. And now they're out and they're being your brand ambassadors. Or as I call them, your walking, talking billboards for you. Who are they? Or are you just saying you have great solutions, but nobody is there as a branch to actually testify that you are what you say you are? So for me, I have people who have gone through my Rock Your Stage program who have now they're soaring. They're doing their own thing. They're speaking all over the place, and they've written their own books. And I know that that's come directly from my training, that I've given them the blueprint to succeed, and that they're getting there quicker than I ever got there, because they have more now than I had when I started.
Yep.
That's the intention. That is the intention. So who are your branches? And then last but not least, of course, the most critical part that we're talking about today, profitability. Speaker success involves all 5 of these: visibility, ability, authenticity, credibility, and profitability. So it's not just, oh, I want to share a message. It's not just the impact. It is the income that you can generate as a result of sharing your story. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you ways that you can actually create this right here. Okay? So there are 5 modalities of learning that you can actually monetize. Y'all see, notice that things are in 5 today. I don't know well, this is not, this is in 4, but this next one is in 5.
And then go get
All
a
right.
5-figure speaking engagement.
Not 4.
Amen.
All right, so number 1, they can read. Number 2, they can hear. Number 3, they can see. Number 4, they can experience. And number 5, they can master. I actually learned this from Brendan Burchard, who is an amazing, just a dynamic and powerful speaker himself. So I read this in one of his books, and it's just truth. So I share this with all of my clients now. So this is how you monetize and gain the profitability. Number 1, do you have things that people can read from you?
This
Meaning,
is the get model.
this is not the get model. No, this is something completely separate. I want to talk about profitability. So that's probably not even on your sheet. You're gonna have to just write some side notes. So number 1 is reading. So do you have things that people can read? Meaning, it could be a book. It might be things that either you can monetize or you can pull people in to be able to monetize at a later point. So it could be an ebook. It could be an actual hard copy book. It could be your newsletter. It could be a blog. Anything that people can read where you're establishing more credibility that leads to profitability. So I want you to ask yourself, how many of these am I tapping into? Do I have an ebook? You shouldn't just have one. You should have several that you can send out. Because let's say you're going to a speaking engagement. Now, sometimes you're going to be speaking in front of your target audience, which I would highly encourage most times. But then there might be other times where it's not your target audience, but it's an audience outside of that has resulted from what I call the splatter effect. What do I mean by that? I mean, as a speaker, you're going to have a target audience that you spend your marketing dollars on, that you spend your time on, that you create a marketing plan to target that audience. But it does not mean you can't serve people outside of that audience. That's where a lot of speakers get confused. It is not that you cannot serve outside of that audience. You can, it just means that you're not targeting them. So I never target corporate, but I get corporate gigs all the time because they see how well I play in the space of serving women entrepreneurs, and they say, there's something I see in you that I believe would help our female leaders in corporate. Do you think I turn that money down? No, I go get that check. In fact, I'm going to Massachusetts next week, and I'm doing a corporate gig. So you don't turn that down. That's still another revenue stream. It just means you didn't target them. So that's why I say you need to have these things even for people who are inside and outside of that target audience. So let's say you go into an audience and you always want to collect their information. So, well, how are you going to collect their information? You got to have something juicy for them to want. So they can say, yes, sign me up. Yeah, I'm going to the website. I want my information. I want to hear from you. So do you have something juicy? Number 2, hearing. So hearing would be anything people can listen to. And you got to know a little bit about your target audience. So for me, I'm a busy mom. I have 3 kids. I got a husband and a business. So for me, auditory learning is the best for me. Why? Because I can pop that CD in my car while I'm going to pick the kids up. I do 2 school drop-offs every day and 2 school pickups every day. I feel like I'm always on the road. I'm always in a plane or on a train or somewhere. So auditory is my best mode of learning. So do you have things where people can listen to you? CDs? Yes, people still listen to CDs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I spoke for Blacks in Government. There were about 1,500 people there. And I had a line wrapped around the entryway. But I had books. You know what people kept asking me for? Do you have any CDs? Do you have any CDs? I would love to listen to you while I'm in my car. So I had to check myself. Cheryl, are you ready? Or are you still getting ready? Which one? So how can they hear you? Again, audio downloads, CDs, podcasts, huge now. MP3s, anything that people can listen to. You got to make sure you're tapping into that. And again, ask yourself the question, how many of those streams am I tapping into? Number 3, seeing you. So seeing you could be your Facebook Live. They're seeing us right now. It can be videos, YouTube videos. It can be, you can even use webinars as a way for people to see, because they can see you and they can see your presentation that you're offering. You can choose what options you want. But that's a way for people to see. Some people still do DVD programs. So it's just, they sell a little DVD of them speaking at an engagement. So imagine you were at this big engagement and you're speaking in front of 2,000 people. That's great to have a videographer capture, and then bam, slam that thing on a DVD and sell it. Repurposing your content. Like not recreating the wheel over and over and over again. Oh, now I got to sit in front of the camera and I got to do a whole new speech. You just did an hour speech. You should be having somebody to video that. That's another question. Are you tapping into things that will allow you to repurpose what you've done? So when I first started speaking, I had a videographer travel to every single speaking engagement I did. Did it hurt my pockets a little bit? Woo, woo, woo. That's what I like to say. Yes, it did. It was a little hard, but I had all of this amazing footage. So now I can show people my journey. I can show them I'm over here speaking at the Small Business Administration. I'm over here speaking for federally employed women. I'm over here speaking. So now there's more proof in my pudding. So you got to be capturing so people can see you. Number 4, experiencing you. What you're doing today is experiencing Cheryl Wood. You're not watching me on video. You're not watching me on Facebook Live. You're not watching, no, from afar. You're here up close and personal. So yeah, you may love the energy that you get from my Facebook Live, but you will never get the same energy when you're in my space. It's different, is it not? Like you're like, dang, you're trying to keep up. Yeah, she moving over here, she moving over there, right? It's a different type, and people get to experience the fullness of your energy, because when you speak, it is not just about the words that come out of your mouth. It is about your body language, the confidence that you display. It is about your tone of voice. Are you able to quiet down a little bit when you got something really serious to say? Are you able to get energized when you have something you want them to get hyped up and excited about? It is your voice, your tone, your pitch, your volume, all of those things, your pace matter. The full expression of you. Because what do you do the whole time you see somebody speaking? You done seen their outfit already, right? But aren't you staring at them the whole time? Right. Yes, because it's an experience. So when you're speaking, number 1, don't stand behind a podium, ever, unless you have to. So let me give an example. So when I speak I just came back 2 weeks ago from speaking at Blacks in Government. Again, I was their opening keynote speaker last year. This year, I was their closing keynote speaker. So I'm speaking in front of, by the time they close, there's still about 600 people that are still there from about the 1,500 who come. And the way they have it set up is there's a podium here in the middle, and then there's a dais on this side, which is just a table with chairs, and there's a dais on this side with another table of chairs that's skirted and all that kind of stuff. And they have like all of the people who are the higher ups are seated at these tables on stage. In that situation, I have to stand behind the podium. And that's only at their request. Number 1, they're videoing it. Number 2, that's how the stage is set up. So I can't come walk off the stage and go on the floor. Now, if I had permission to do that, that is what Cheryl Wood would do. Because I always tell people I don't do podium. I don't do standing behind. So all I could do was give them as much energy as I could from behind the podium. But you better believe I didn't just stand there like this, talking about, yeah, I'm so excited to be here, woo, woo, right? Like, no, I was still authentically Cheryl. I still had my gestures, and I was animated, and I was a little loud, and then I brought it in, and then I gave them takeaways, and I gave them some stories. So you still, regardless of the setup that's dictated for you, which sometimes it will be dictated for you, you can still give such an amazing performance. As speakers, you're performers. You're not there just to educate. You're there to entertain. You're there to inspire. All of those things are part of your role as a speaker. And so you got to ask yourself, am I giving people an experience? So how are you implementing this? Experiences are through any type of live event. So if you're hosting your own conference, if you're hosting a brunch, a lunch, a breakfast, if you're hosting an intimate training like this, all of that is an opportunity for people to experience you. And then we go to the last one, which is master. So master is when people say, I want everything you got. I want it all. Give it all to me. How do I master you? Meaning I want intimate time with you. That's mastery. First of all, you got to know this is the top of your check. This is the top. You can't get better than mastery. So you've got to price your stuff at a mastery level. So for me, if you want to get to Cheryl Wood, you want my one-on-one time, it's going to cost you. It's at a whole different investment level. I have packages anywhere from $18,000 all the way up to $50,000 for mastery. Why? Because I can tell you some stuff. I can give you a book to read. I can give you some training modules. But when you come and you sit with me intimately, and I'm focused only on you and your challenges and what we need to move you forward, that's a whole different experience. So you have to make sure that you are monetizing at the level that says this is mastery. So mastery would be a VIP day with you. Mastery would be individual coaching with you. Mastery would be an intimate retreat. Maybe it's a weekend retreat. I have clients who are in my 18K package and we do a full 2-day training. But it's just me and that person. That's it. So imagine all the juicy stuff that comes out of that when you don't have to share the person. Oh, right? When they don't have to share you. Like have you ever been in a class, and this is a kind of a quiet class, but when you ever been in a class and you got that one person who asks a question for everything, you're like, oh Lord, right? We want to move on. Mastery says you don't have to share. Mastery says, you know what, I want that person one-on-one to answer my questions because I don't need to know all that other stuff. I already know that. But when you're in a group setting, guess what? You got to follow along the specific guideline or the outline of the course or the program. But for mastery, when people get you one-on-one, it's customized. There's nothing better than customized, okay? So you've got to make sure that you're charging at a level that says you're mastering, okay? So these are the ways, these are what we call the 5 modalities of learning, and you've got to ask yourself, how many of these modalities am I tapping into for my client, for my target audience? And so last but not least, let me give you our GET model, my 5 GET model. I'm going to erase this. You guys are good with this, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to erase this. I'm going to give you this last model, and then I'm going to get out of here. Has it been adding value to you all?
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So this is my GET model. All right. Specifically for speakers. Number 1, you got to get people's attention. Okay? How do you get their attention? Well, you got to be visible. You got to be active. You got to be present. That means you got to have some juicy stuff to offer. What is your juicy offer? Do you have it where it's a pop-up on your website? Do you have it where perhaps you're doing a Facebook ad and you're sponsoring it so that it gets in front of more people? So, if you have a Facebook fan page, a business page, you can do something. There's a little button that says boost this post, which basically will show that as a sponsored post on other people's page. You can narrow that thing down to your specific target audience. You can say, I only want this to go to people who are between the ages of 35 to 55. They must be women. They must be entrepreneurs. And you can tag the categories so that you're getting the attention of the people you want to serve. It's worth the investment. Now it pops up you can even do it where you say, I want it to pop up on my Facebook friends page and their friends. So it's people who already are liking your stuff, but maybe they haven't spent with you yet. Maybe they haven't spent their dollars with you yet. You're trying to get their attention, but you got to have some juicy stuff. So if you're going to tell me you're teaching me something about finances, don't give it a boring, finances 101. Really? Really? No, you can create a juicy title, and your title can speak either to the problem or it can speak to the solution. So let's say you're speaking to the problem. You might say, the 5 biggest financial mistakes that entrepreneurs make and how to overcome them. Right? Would that spark your interest if you having some financial struggle? Probably. I'd be more interested in that than finances 101. Right? So you can speak to the problem. 5 biggest financial mistakes entrepreneurs make. Or you can speak to a solution, and you can say how to make more money, or how to, like a title I use, explode your profits as a speaker. How to use your story, that's even better. How to use your story to explode your profits as a speaker. That's going to grab more interest than making money as a speaker 101. right? So give it some time investment so that you can get people's attention. All right, here's your next one. After you get their attention, you want to get their information. We talked about that a little bit. Don't just be a one and done. So when I go out and I speak, and let's say I do sell books, but I don't collect anybody's information, how do I even continue to nurture that relationship so that I can get them to my higher level sales? So you might have bought a $20 book. I don't care about a $20 book. What I care about is, can I get you into my $5,000 program? Can I get you into my $10,000 program? Can I get you somewhere where I can actually get on a path with you for transformation? What did we talk about earlier? Transformation requires time. Change requires time. So I can't just sell you a book and think you're going to be transformed. I need time to work with you. That means I need to be getting your information so I can stay in touch with you, so that I can continue to nurture the possibility of you becoming a client whose life I help to transform. It's not yucky. It's not yucky to sell when you know that the ultimate reason that you're selling is because you want to create transformation. So we got to get out of this mind space that selling is yucky. It's not. It's not yucky. You're just serving people at a greater level. You're helping to transform their lives, and that's not going to happen just with a one and done. It's going to happen over the course of time. All right, so you got their attention, you got their information. Now you got to get to the top of their mind. Okay, so yeah, I collected their information, but now I got to stay at the top of their mind. Why? Because people are busy. So if you asked me yesterday what my name was, girl, I half remembered. I was like, or where I was 2 weeks before that. I don't even remember because my life is moving like speed, like lightning, like 150 miles per hour. Like literally Thursday through Sunday I was gone. I flew to Atlanta. I went and spoke at a conference in Atlanta. I left Atlanta, went from the plane station to the train station, went to Lancaster, spoke at a conference, and came back home. And then when I get back home, guess what? My husband wants his time and my kids want their time. So I'm all over the place. And now I got to get back and get caught up on all of the work I missed from being gone for 4 days on speaking. Because I still got clients that I got to serve. So my mind is all over the place. It's all over the place. So how do you break through that noise and stay at the top of their mind? You got to consistently be tapping into them. You guys have heard of touch points? There are always touch points with your clients. How often are you touching them? How often? Because they will forget. And what you don't want them to forget you. I sent a newsletter out last week. And in my newsletters, here's my rule of thumb. I don't try to sell because I believe that I will magnetize the sale. Instead, I educate and inform. And I got so many responses from that email I sent last week. And it was just what I use real life experiences that I've gone through as an entrepreneur, and I connect it to the people I'm talking about serving, which are other entrepreneurs and aspiring speakers. So I share, hey, this just happened, I went to this place and I did this and I did that. Now here's the takeaway for you. Here's what I learned and here's the takeaway for you. See, there's two different things in speaking. There's a head-to-head connection and there's a heart-to-heart connection. You gotta be both. Head-to-head is the knowledge that you give. It's the facts, the statistics, the data, it's all that stuff. But the heart-to-heart, that's what will have people run to the back of the room to buy your stuff. The heart-to-heart. Don't believe me? 2 months ago, I went to Seattle, Washington. I was their keynote speaker. And it was not fee-based. It was sales-based. It was a sell-to-speak opportunity. Speak to sell. It was a speak-to-sell opportunity. So I went there, and there were all these other speakers. And there were probably like half of the speakers went before me, and then I was going to speak at lunch, and then the other half of the speakers. But all the speakers who went before me were content, just head-to-head. Like, they gave great content. I took great notes. But guess who took the money out the room? Know why? Because I made a heart-to-heart connection. Those women were hungry. And I was the only, as Del Toro says, the only speck of pepper in the room. But those women were hungry for transformation. And I shared my story, not just content. I didn't just reach them head-to-head. I reached them heart-to-heart. You're a woman just like me. I don't care what color you are. You're a woman just like me. You suffer from some of the same stuff I suffer from. You trying to figure out balance just like I'm trying to figure out balance. You trying to figure out, how do I get my husband on? How do I serve my kids? How do I serve my clients? How do I fit all this in and maintain my sanity? Let alone, let's even talk about some time for yourself. Could I get a manicure and a pedicure, right? So you're just like me. That's what you got to create. I'm just like you. It just is that what you're struggling with right now, I already been there and I already have a solution to it that I can teach you. See, that is the key to being able to get to a space of monetization. So now you get to the top of their mind by making sure that you're consistently pinging them, you're consistently educating and informing them, you're consistently giving them something that's juicy and that's of value. Don't be afraid to give people a taste test of you. Y'all know Mom's Organic Store? My kids love going to that store. That's here local. Why? Because when we go in there, they got all the stuff you can taste test. They got, oh, we got fresh new pineapples. They got taste test over there. Oh, we got the new sausage over here. And we're going to taste test that. My kids love going there because they can taste test. Don't be afraid to give people a little taste. Why do you feel like you're going to lose out because you give people a taste? Let me tell you something. If you're constantly investing in yourself, you will never run out of content.
No.
You will never run out of information and knowledge to share with your clients. So why would you be scared to share a little something to give them a taste of what they're going to experience with you? Let's get to these last two. You want to get, Shay will love this, the sale. You got to get the sale. So you get their attention, then you get their information, then you get to the top of their mind, then you get the sale. Hello? You got to sell something. I used to be so scared of that word, sell. But now I understand it's just a greater level of service. It's not yucky to me anymore. And I approach it like this. You either want it or you don't. And there are going to be some people, number one, who don't. They're not ready yet. There's not a sense of urgency. And there are going to be some people who say they want the homie hookup, and they feel like, oh, I can't afford it, and they're going to try to talk you down. No. Les Brown says, I work with the willing. And you got to have that approach in your business as a speaker. You work with the people who are willing. Why? If I call Lisa Nichols, which, by the way, you guys, tomorrow and Saturday, I am speaking on stage with Lisa Nichols. Hello, talk about a dream come true at the National Harbor. So I'm so pumped about that. I can't even sleep. I haven't been able to sleep all week. I'm like, is Friday yet? Is it Friday yet? I'm excited. I'm fired up. But as much as I love Lisa Nichols, Lisa Nichols charges $35,000 for one VIP day with her. Did y'all hear what I said? Let me write it down in case you can't visualize it. $35,000
For one day.
for one day. Okay? I know she's worth it. Do you think I can call Lisa Nichols up and say, hey Lisa, girl, I love what you do. You a bomb.com. I mean, you girl, you the bomb. I got to get next to you. I got to get to you. But girl, that $35,000. Woo, 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 woo. I can't swing the 35. Girl, you think could you reduce that a little bit? What do y'all think Lisa Nichols would say to me?
She wouldn't.
She would say, security, get this woman out of here, right?
Dial tone.
She is not going to reduce down to my level. I got to play up to her level. So you should expect that somebody ain't going to be able to afford you. If everybody can afford you, you are playing so small. You are undercutting yourself. If you're still in the $97 world, you are playing small. You are undercutting yourself. I didn't learn that till I started working with Trevor and Shay. I was still in the $97 world, wasn't I? Selling stuff at $97, thinking I was doing it. They was like, okay, we're going to take your program up to $39.97. I was like, what? I was so nervous the first time. But what they promised me was, sure, once you get that first $39.97, you ain't never going back to the $97 world. And it's true. Because then I started to value what I brought into the space. I started to value my knowledge that I had and the transformation I could create for somebody else. So if this is her fee, that's her fee.
Right.
And she stands by it. And she ain't getting no homie hookup. And if I want to get what she has and the content, then I got to play up because she ain't coming down. So you have to develop, your business model has to be around that same space. And then last but not least, after you get the sale, you got to get the referrals. So I just got my first client who lives in London, UK. She just signed up for my Rocket Stage program, which is my speaker training program. And it's so interesting because I'm like, oh, okay, wait. We got to make sure we have this in place, and we got to make sure, and I'm just like, it's blowing my mind. It's amazing. But how did I get her? I got her through a referral. Somebody else, one of my clients who went through this, I went through this process, got their attention, got their information, got the top of their mind, got their sale. They went through my training, my speaker training 2 years ago. And literally, this lady just came in through my funnel based on a referral. She heard, the lady who used to be a client of mine, or has been a client, heard her saying that she needed a speaker coach and sent her my way. Now this lady is coached with other people. But she still came and spent her dollars with me based on the credibility I had developed with somebody who is my being your walking, talking billboards, talking about you. Katisha Pitts, she's amazing. She's one of my clients. I'm like, girl, I need to take you everywhere I go. Because she always talks about her experience going through Rock Your Stage. People like Virginia Robinson, people like Andrea Martin. I mean, these are amazing women who are doing their thing, who have greatness in them. Belinda Johnson. But they're always saying, my speaker coach, Amy Sietta Clark. I mean, I can just call out a bunch of names of people who are always giving credit back to where they got started. Hey, this is the person who coached me. This is why, this is how, and it's not that they didn't have greatness already there. You all have greatness already in you. That doesn't need to be pulled out. What needs to be pulled out is your story. What needs to be pulled out is you getting out of this $97 world and being able to implement these things and knowing how you can monetize the story. So as I start to kind of wrap up, I want to make sure that you guys have all of this information. Is there any questions about any of this content that we've shared so far? All right. So as we wrap up, I want to talk about the importance of sharing your story. As I said, right here in the middle of the board, your story is your wealth generator. That is always going to be the thing that lands you the sale, the monetization. So the question that each and every one of you I'm going to leave you with is, what is my signature story? Okay? And your signature story, there's a difference between a signature story and a supporting story. Your signature story is the thing that you tell 100% of the time. Okay? Your signature story is the thing that connects, it's a direct connection between you and the customer. Meaning, it's a direct connector to what they're currently experiencing that you used to experience, but you've already come out on the other side with the answer. That again goes to the heart to heart. But there's a lot that surrounds the signature story. Number one, it has to be a direct connection to the pain point of the customer or the prospect at that time. But it also has to demonstrate a few things. That there was a choice, that there was a challenge, and that there was an outcome. Your signature story has to demonstrate what choices you had surrounding the problem that the client is currently going through. You have to be able to identify the challenges that surrounded making the choice, and then how did you get to the outcome? What was the outcome and how did you get to that outcome? When you're able to wrap that into your signature story, that's when it becomes a powerful thing that transforms people's life. This is the story that you say, I want to tell this every time I speak. So what story did I tell you guys earlier today?
You were a t-shirt mom.
Yep.
Working a full-time job.
Yep.
With babies.
Bam! I was working as a legal secretary, dropping the babies off, couldn't stand it, wanted something different, started a t-shirt business. I tell that story every speech I do. Doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter where it is. Corporate, entrepreneur, it doesn't matter. Faith-based, I always tell that story. That's the story I tell 100% of the time. That's my signature story that's based on a lot of the pain points that my customers or prospects are currently going through. And they want to get out. I want more time. Yeah, sure, I understand. I want to get away from punching the time clock. Yeah, I understand. Right? They're raising it like, yes, me. That's me. So I tell that story. But there are other supporting stories that I can also share, but I don't tell them 100% of the time. Let me give you one. That's very pivotal. You got to make sure that it's pivotal to what you're teaching. So one of the stories I share is that I lost my dad. My dad passed away in 2009, Thanksgiving Day of 2009. He was 59 years old. He passed away of a massive heart attack in his sleep. Now, I don't just tell that story, I share and I show that story. That's something completely different, and that's what I teach in my Rock Your Stage. We don't have enough time for that. But I don't want to tell that story every time. You know why? Because it's emotional. And when you're telling, first of all, when you're telling an emotional story, anything that takes them down, what? You got to bring them back up. And you can't still be in your ugly Oprah. You here, you on stage, you boo-hoo ball, and somebody got to bring you tissue because you can't get yourself together. So it has to be a story that you can regroup from. So I can regroup from my father's story, but I still don't want to tell it every time. For instance, if I'm in a group of young girls, I don't necessarily want to go there. Now, when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, and I'm telling them create a sense of urgency about sharing your gift right now, like stop playing around. You don't know that you're going to open your eyes tomorrow? What you waiting on? That's the story. I hit them hard with that story. And I show them the story. Meaning I walk them through what it felt like to watch my father close in a body bag. So I'm able to make a heart-to-heart connection, but that's a supporting story that I don't tell every time. Remember, speaking has drastically changed. It used to be a time where you would get on a stage as a keynote speaker for 90 minutes. Most of them are not that anymore. I get hired mostly for keynotes. You know how long my keynotes are now?
45?
No.
30?
30 or less. Some of them are, when I just spoke at Blacks in Government 2 weeks ago, it was 15 minutes. 15 minutes as a keynote. Because a lot of people are following the TEDx style. So it's 15 minutes, it's 18 minutes, it's 20 minutes. Most of my keynotes are 25 minutes or less. So can you articulate a heart-to-heart connection and a head-to-head connection and your story, your signature story and supporting stories in that amount of time? Yes, you can. But it takes practice. You got to master the craft. You have to know what's obsolete, what don't I have to share, what parts can I take out of the story, what do I need to share in the story, how much of it can I tell, how deep can I go in it, do I have time to take them down and bring them back up? That's why I don't share the supporting story about my dad all the time. Because if I got 15 minutes, that's not a lot of time for me to take you down and bring you back up.
Right.
Now if I have 30 minutes or 40 minutes, yes, I can do that. So every once in a while I do still get a 45-minute. When I went to Lancaster this past week, I had a 45-minute, but that was like a faith-based conference, very different. So it just depends, but you have to be able to adjust based on how much time you're giving. So for each and every one of you, do you know what your signature story is that you want to tell every time, that for every audience? So even when I go into corporate, and let me explain the difference between corporate and an entrepreneur. So when I go to corporate, I still tell this story about being a frustrated mom. But when I go to corporate, I have to have filters. Why? Couple things. Number one, I can't go up in there and talk about God, because God. But I can do that in the entrepreneurial space. When I go into corporate space, it's a different arena. And I have to have filters on, and I have to know what those filters are. I'll never forget somebody at a big company who I went and I had a big meeting with. And they said, one of the first things they said was, we don't have a lot of women who come into this space, especially African-American women. We had one, we gave her an opportunity, and she came and preached the entire speech. You gotta know what space you're playing in. You have to know what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, which means you gotta know what questions to ask beforehand. That's all the stuff I teach in Rock Your Stage. So for me, I know when I go into corporate, I can still tell my story because it's important, because that's gonna identify me moving forward, but I tell it in a different way. So I don't go and talk about, because I hated going to that job, right? I couldn't stand going, they couldn't stand coming to me. Now that's how I talk when I'm in entrepreneur space. But when I go to corporate, I just say, you know, I got to a space where motherhood was the most important thing to me. You get it?
Language.
I wanted more time with my kids. I wanted to be able to walk them to school every day and pick them up. See, they connect with that. I'm not in there telling you, yeah, I hated my job, and if you hate yours, you should come on with me. Come on, let's go, y'all, right? That's different. Like, it can't be that type of vibe or anything around that, so I gotta create filters in how I share the story. But I still share the story.
Right.
So this is what you become known for. So Les Brown has been speaking for 40 years. Do you know what his story is? Any of you know what his story is? What is his story? His opus, you know, the 30-second window.
Born in an abandoned building on the floor.
Yes.
Adopted mother.
Yes.
It was a dumb twin, labeled a dumb twin, but here's the big thing, don't let anybody tell you what you are, because inside of you is greatness.
Absolutely. And he has a story about being a disc jockey. Remember? And he went in and he kept going back. If you don't know his story, you gotta look up his story. And he would go back and he wanted this job as a disc jockey, and he would go to the job and show up, hey, I want to know if y'all have any openings today. And they were like, no, I don't have no openings, get out of here. And guess what? He came back the next day and said, hey, I came back. They said, wait a minute, weren't you just here? Yeah, I was here, but I thought maybe somebody got sick. Maybe you needed me to tell. No, anybody's sick, get out of here. And he came back the next day because he was trying to get a job. He wanted to be a disc jockey. He come back the next day, hey, and they're like, wait a minute, you were just here the last 2 days. Well, I thought maybe somebody died. Did you need some help? No, we don't need no help. Get out of here. He come back the next day, hey, do I need you? Do I need somebody? You was just here. You're like, you know what, go get me some coffee. And he had a job. Persistence, determination, laser focus. That's what you gotta have. That's his story. Every time I see the man, he tells the same story. He's been telling the same story for 40 years. Your signature story doesn't change. It is who you are. It is what makes you you. It is what is unique about your story and your truth. And that's the thing you tell 100% of the time. Everything else is nothing more than a supporting story that you can opt based on who you're speaking to share that story, to pull it in or not, or to connect it to certain points. So you have to get to a space where you know what this is, but also you have a list of supporting stories. So that you know, okay, if I'm in the entrepreneur space, you know what, and I'm making these points. For me, I say to people, let me give you an example. you got to take risks. You got to be willing to invest in your own dream. You can't wait for somebody else to make that investment for you. So here's one of the supporting stories I give for that. In 2013, I rented a stadium. I rented a stadium. Why? Because I got sick and tired of saying I was waiting on Les Brown to call me to share a stadium with him. What? I'm like, somebody could call Les and let him know. I'm out here and I'm waiting.
Right.
And I used to say that in every speech I went to, like, I want to share the big stage, the stadium stage with Les Brown. I said that in every speech, and one day I caught myself and I was like, oh my God, I'm saying that, but that means I'm waiting on somebody else to make my dream happen for me. I can't wait. I gotta create. I gotta create it myself, because suppose my tomorrow doesn't come and I've been waiting on somebody else to call me and help me make that dream happen. I gotta take my personal power and say, this is the space I'm gonna walk in. This is the dream I'm gonna execute. So in 2013, I went and I rented a stadium in my own hometown here in Prince George's County. And it was scary. And my husband looked at the bill and was like, yeah, you sure about this? I was like, no, I ain't sure. I wasn't sure. But I knew, what I knew was, if not me, it would be somebody else. And even if I waited for 6 months or 12 months, I was going to be just as scared then as I was in that moment. So why not just get it over with? Why not just do it? And I rented that stadium, and I put the investment in, and I put the work in. I had no big names backing me. I had no big sponsorships. It was just little Cheryl with a dream. And I hosted it as a massive empowerment event for girls and women, free. And I was just like, Lord, please, just let more than my husband and my 3 kids show up at this event. That's it. That was my prayer. We had over 2,200 people who came to that event. Over 2,200 people. So now I can say, that's a dream I made happen for myself. What is the dream that you're making happen for yourself? That's a supporting story. So that's literally how I would share that with the audience. What's the dream you're making happen for yourself? What risk are you willing to put in? What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to give up? You gotta, as Shay would say all the time, you gotta put some skin in the game. What skin in the game are you willing to put in? So that's a supporting story. So every time you're making a key point, a takeaway, have a supporting story that backs it up so that you can drive home the point. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm gonna wrap up. So I'm hoping that you guys have gained a lot of value. I'm hoping that you understand how powerful your story is. I hope that you now at least understand a little bit, without me having to be able to go into a whole bunch of detail, the difference between the signature story and the supporting stories. And just understanding that you got to tell your story every time, because people will remember your story before they remember your facts and your figures. People will remember your story. I have more people who come up to me, and I'm not going to lie, sometimes I don't know who they are because they know me from Facebook, and I can't remember everybody. I'm like, no, I don't know. I was just in the store the other day shopping. And the lady came over to me like, Cheryl, what? I was like, hi. I had no idea who she was. But I knew she knew me from social media or something because she was talking about my work. So I have no idea, but I know that people know my story because I tell it all the time. And so here's what I want to leave you with. As you're telling your story, as you're grinding for success as a speaker, always remember this, because again, we know how to serve. Know the difference between your heart work and your wealth work. Your heart work versus your wealth work. And make sure that there's a balance and that you know what space you're playing in at what time. So I might have an audience that I love to serve. I love serving single moms because my mother was a single mom. I love serving stay-at-home moms who decide, who make a decision, I'm going to give up my career, or I'm going to put my career on hold, so I want to raise my kids. I really respect that. And so I love serving that audience. But I know a lot of that audience, they cannot pay me. They can't invest in my services. So I know very clearly that's my heart work audience. Meaning when I go in, I'm not expecting to sell nothing. I'm not expecting to charge you to have me speak. I'm just coming to pour. That is my give back as a speaker. That is me coming and sharing and serving and pouring into somebody else with no expectation other than I'm pouring and I'm giving. But oh baby, when I'm in my wealth work, you better believe there's an investment attached to it. These are people who say, I say, this is my audience. I train. I'm the #1 developer of female speakers. This is the investment. This is what you can sign up for. You can sign up for my Rock Your Stage program. You can sign up for my Speaker Makeover program. You can sign up for my Platinum program. And here are the investments, and here are the deliverables. And here's my proof in the pudding and my branches who can tell you what you're going to get. You see? So I know when I'm going into which space, so that there's no confusion. There's no confusion that when I'm playing in wealth work, oh, I expect to be paid. I expect the check. I expect to monetize it. Versus hard work, I expect that I'm just giving. And when you separate it like that, you don't ever have to question when people are trying to take advantage in this space or trying to get a homie hookup in this space. You understand that I'm playing at my maximum capacity. I'm giving everything, I'm delivering, but it comes with an investment. And that's it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. If you guys have questions, I'm certainly, I think I'm already over my time anyway.
Cheryl, do what you do.
I do have more.